All right, good morning. This is the final video in the Rule of Life series, right? So I started last week talking about what a rule of life is, which actually is what it isn't more than what it is. What it is not is a set of daily tasks that need to be done in order to be a good human being. And it is not a mechanism for organizing life. Instead, what the three pillars of the rule of life, which are hydration, lean, and sober, each of these has a very particular, very mundane, very daily task associated with them, and then also um, a broader position, a broader state of mind to cultivate. So hydration, of course, involves drinking water, a gallon a day. That's very prescriptive. But the idea of being fluid with a sense of boundaries, like understanding where a boundary is, but particularly the study, the meditative practice of understanding where the nature of self, the non-reification, the non-permanence of self, and the intersection with the mystery. All of that stuff we talked about earlier in the month, that falls under the rubric of hydration. Then there is lean, which in the day-to-day practice for me is intermittent fasting. And I would strongly recommend that you all look into intermittent fasting, where you define a period of time during the day where you don't eat, and that window should be longer than the window in which you do eat. The body gets a chance to kind of decompress. That's the implementation of the idea. The idea itself, to be lean, is to be controlled and discerning in all of the inputs, not just the food that I eat, but the ideas that I consume, so that my mind is not bloated. I mean, my mind follows what it thinks about, and what it thinks about is often not my own, right? Because of the ubiquity of other people's opinions and ideas. And then today, the third code, the third line is to be sober. And of course, this first and foremost means avoiding intoxication. For me, that's categorical. I don't drink alcohol anymore. But the language is specific. It's to avoid intoxication, avoid mindlessness. One of the drivers for a lot of my practice actually was the fear. Yeah, I'll say fear. It started as a fear that I would die drunk, meaning I would be filled with regret, and I wouldn't be present. So, on the one hand, the rule of life for sobriety is don't drink alcohol, don't be intoxicated. But the broader idea of that is not that prescriptive prohibition. It is instead to seek out fullness of a life that is not just not filled with regret, but actually filled with contentment, that is aware, that is fully participating. This cultivation of the positive is actually, for those of you who are in recovery or thinking that you want to be in recovery, it's really worth thinking about what sobriety allows you to do, rather than all of the things that you're not going to be able to do. There's some new experience that is available to you when you are sober that has to be more valuable than all of the experiences. Look, I drank for 30 years, and I drank too much. I like drinking a lot, but I like more, and I mean I really like more, waking up in the morning with a clear head, making a cup of coffee, sitting with my dogs, and then moving on into the rest of my life. That moment is absolutely unavailable to me if I've had anything to drink the day before, and certainly not if I've had a lot to drink. So find that, because the rule of life around sobriety is the embrace of fullness. Right? Think of it that way. Sobriety is the embrace of fullness, and intoxication removes you from that embrace. I know at first it doesn't feel like that. I still think about what it feels like to that first sip of my drink was wild turkey bourbon. That first sip where it really feels like your brain lights up. Here's a tip. If it feels like your brain lights up when you have a sip of wild turkey, think very carefully about whether you should be drinking it or not. And there's a sense with alcohol that, boundaries get a little bit softer, inhibitions are lowered down. It's quite a wonderful thing. I mean, I'm not ever going to say that nobody should ever drink, but I do want you to think carefully about where it fits in your life. Wine is all over the ministry of Jesus. The Buddha, the Buddhist precepts say avoid intoxication. So as with most things, as with all things, it's evaluate the relationship. I know tons of people who have a glass of wine with dinner, and it's an incredibly pleasant, flavorful, enjoyable experience. It's not intoxicating. It's an embrace. That wasn't how it was for me. So find the thing that you can do when you're not drinking, and I talk about that moment, that morning moment for me. That's when I practice. When I most effectively stopped drinking, which was 3 years ago now, was during a 3-year Dzogchen Ati cycle. And I found myself listening to the teachings and being impacted by them. This was not the first time I'd gone through the Ati cycle, that Dzogchen training. In fact, I think it was the 4th time over 15 years. Right? My teacher teaches it every other year or so, the full cycle. And I realized that to do this practice is a razor's edge of focus. There's just no room for fucking around if I wanted to be serious about it. And I did want to be serious about it. I'd ask the question, like, are the fruits of this practice really available to any of us? Right? Because I really believed that the practice is effective, but it was only effective for a small fraction of people. But it is available to all of us if we cultivate the space. And this rule of life, to be sober, is there so that there isn't an unnecessary veil. There are plenty of existing veils, our karmic obscurations, the difficulties of our society. There are enough obstacles without bringing in unnecessary ones. So consider that, right? Consider what it means to be intoxicated and try to take a step or two back down from that and see how far you want to go. again, for me, I don't drink alcohol anymore. I can't say I never will. Because you can't say things like that. But something would have to change from where I am today. And I like that, and I think I like it enough. No, I like it enough that I think I would tell you all to try it. If you are a daily drinker, try not doing that. Hydration. It has to be part of the 3 positions: hydration, lean, sober. That's the rule of life. I'm actually going to do another video in this series tomorrow to wrap it up, because as I was putting this together, I realized the rule of life is there to prepare for the rule of death. What I said earlier about not wanting to be drunk when I died, there's a lot there to unpack and to think about. It reminded me of the Socratic apology, Plato's apology, where he describes Socrates' last night, where he knows at dawn he's going to drink hemlock. And how does he choose to spend it? How do I want my last moment to be? And then a backfill from there. I want my last moment to be hydrated, and I want to feel lean, and I want to be sober. So in order to do that, I need a rule of life that cultivates those 3 things. So I'm going to talk more about how the rule of life is really the rule of death, and how not to get freaked out by that language, because it's not intended to be morbid or freaky. It's to really bring into the point that the moment here, the way that I interact with you and with this moment here now is the process of the practice. That's what's being cultivated. So that should be good. And I will see you here tomorrow. As always, if you have questions, drop them in the comments. And then Thursdays, I have Q&A where I dig through all the questions and answer a few of them. So keep your wits about you.